Friends, welcome back to the Autry Benton Show. Today, we have a true treat, an American patriot and no stranger to Myrtle Beach. Today's guest is Colonel Buddy Styers. Colonel, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Autry. Glad to be here.
I'm honored to be sitting here with you today. And before we get started, I just want to thank you for your tremendous service to our country and to our area.
Thank you.
You are a special man.
Thank you.
And we haven't known each other personally long, but I've always heard your name, how respected you are in this area, and in reading your bio, it's special. So I'm interested to get to know you. So I want to start right at the very beginning. Where'd you grow up?
Well, I graduated from Myrtle Beach High in 1959, but I was born in Salisbury, North Carolina. My family was a Southern Railroad family, and my dad just got a bright idea this summer of 1954 and bought a small mom and pop motel here. It still exists today. It's called Ocean West on Kings Highway. And so I was just starting the 8th grade. Family moved here, and I graduated from Myrtle Beach in '59. Had a wonderful childhood, as anybody my age at that time can tell you. It was a beautiful place to grow up. Downtown was something. The pavilion and its activities was something. And the high school, there were only 82 people in my graduating class.
Wow. Colonel, let me ask you this question right here. So you said you moved from Salisbury into 8th grade. What was your thoughts of moving, that area coming to here?
Well, you know what was the shock? My dad didn't tell me nor my brother until right before we were moving. He said, "Oh, by the way, we're moving to Myrtle Beach." I didn't know what to think about it. We'd been coming to the beach, though. My mother's dad was an engineer on the Southern, and he had actually been coming to the beach before War II, and had actually purchased some property on Ocean Boulevard between 9th and 10th Avenue South and built a little small motel. My memory's correct, it had 5 rooms on each side. And one of my mother's sister came down in summertime and ran it.
Wow.
And of course, that's where we stayed when we came for vacation. But probably the only thing that wasn't good about growing up here is we could never go to a spring break. We were already here at spring break, so we didn't get to do that. But it was an absolute wonderful place to grow up. The high school was close. I think there were just about 300 in 8th through 12th grade, and everybody knew everybody. Downtown was active with all of the Myrtle Beach Farms businesses that were there. Everywhere you went, you saw people you knew. They knew you. The only bad thing, most of them knew your mother and daddy, so you had to be careful. But downtown was wonderful, and a lot of close community activities that matter. That, truthfully, I don't know if the kids in Myrtle Beach right now I don't know what exactly the number is in the graduating class. I had a granddaughter just graduated last year, and it was a shock how many students are in Myrtle Beach High.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So truly, Myrtle Beach itself was a very small town, but I guess it was the 3 months is when it really expanded with tourism.
It really did.
Wow.
The interesting thing, we used to look forward to Easter to Labor Day, and then when Labor Day was over, and it was interesting. So many of us worked at the pavilion. I lifeguarded. I worked in the bathhouse. I worked upstairs where they used to have the bands and the dancing. And about 10 o'clock on Labor Day, everybody's gone.
Wow.
And we used to say, "Thank you till next year."
You're ready for a break, probably, weren't you?
Yes.
Colonel, did the pavilion shut down then during those times, or would stay open?
No, it shut down during the winter from September until the next June.
Wow, that's something. Wow, wow, wow.
But it was a wonderful place because it back then it was safe, it was busy. One of the most interesting things, if you go on a Facebook page about the pavilion, every day you will see 15, 20, 30 posts from people that say, my grandmother brought my mother brought me, I want to bring my kids to the pavilion, and it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are really unhappy about it.
Yeah. So in those days, it truly was a family beach.
It surely was.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's a special place. Special place. Okay, so graduating Myrtle Beach High School, and bring me up to speed, was the Myrtle Beach Air Force Base active then?
Yes, construction actually started the same year that I moved to the beach, 1954. First F-100 airplanes rolled in sometime around 57 to 58, something about that time.
You know, certainly we know that you were in the Air Force, but what was your earliest thoughts of the Air Force and the Air Force Base here? What?
Interestingly, there were a lot of Air Force kids that went to school with us, played sports with us. We played sports with them. We dated their daughters. They dated our friends. And there was never any angst or anything about this. They were some really good athletes that contributed to Myrtle Beach High and to Sockasty. The kids that lived on base had to go to Sockasty. The ones that lived in town went to Myrtle Beach. But it was, I tell you, it was a proud thing to say our Air Force Base. And the community felt like that. That's why when it was announced for closure, that people were so shocked and disappointed because we were losing our Air Force Base.
Special. Well, so graduating, did you go straight into the Air Force? Tell us your next steps in life.
I did not. I went straight to University of South Carolina, stayed the first year and was not happy. My grades were fine, but I just was not happy. So the next year, 61, I went to what is now Coastal Carolina, when it was an extension of South Carolina. And while I was there, I had a history professor whose father was the president of Erskine College in Due West, South Carolina. And one weekend, we just got to be friends. He said, Mom and the wife and I are going up to Erskine to visit Mom and Dad. Would you like to go? I went, sure. We get up there, pulled up in front of the president's house, and if people who've been Due West will understand it is a very small town, one main street through the middle, girls' campus on one end, boys' campus on the other. But stood and talked to the president, just said, excuse me, I walked as far as from 10 feet to the sidewalk, looked up and down the street, word of honor. I looked up and I said, thank you, Lord, I know where I'm supposed to be. This is it. So I transferred that year, played on the baseball team my first year, probably didn't contribute much, but at least I was on the team. And then I stayed for 3 years and graduated in June of 64.
Yeah. You know, I think that's a reoccurring theme. I think sometimes when young people come out of high school, they do kind of have to find their place and path, and that's okay, isn't it, Colonel?
It sure is. And like I said, I pledged Sigma Nu. I was happy. Life was good. But that summer, I just kept thinking about it and realized I just did not want to go back.
Yeah. So what was the next steps?
Well, graduated. I was 1A for the draft, which is not a good thing. This was before the lottery, so I could have been picked up at any time. And I just decided, I always believed that if I did have to go in the military, it would be the Air Force, because I grew up with Air Force people, knowing Air Force bases, knowing airplanes. So I went ahead and joined, and could not pass a flight physical because of my eyes, so I didn't get to fly. And the Air Force offered me security, police, finance, or administration. And I remember thinking my bachelor degree is in business administration, so I chose that.
Just made sense.
Yes, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
So going back, being in Myrtle Beach Air Force Base, did you ever, in those days in high school, thought you'd be in the Air Force? Did you ever allow your mind to go there?
No, I really didn't. It was, of course, back in '54 when I got here, Vietnam was so far out in the future, nobody would ever think about it. It was the right thing for me, though, because I felt a need to serve and to do things like that. I still do. It worked perfect because the job I got was a perfect job for me, because any base I went to in that career field, I could practically have my choice of sometimes 3 and 4 and 5 jobs at a time.
Yeah.
Because of the variety of work that an administrator can do.
You know, as we learn more about your life, and you've already shared it, it's the Lord had you on a specific path with certain specific tasks for where you were supposed to be, I think. Don't you think, Colonel?
I think you're right, but the best thing that happened to me, I met my wife, Penny, upstairs in the pavilion, and people that came to the pavilion when there wasn't upstairs, when there was live bands, music playing, rooms so full of people, and my wife and I met up there. I've insisted for years that she asked me to dance, but you won't be surprised, she denies it.
Yeah, she's got a different version.
Great version.
Yeah. So you got a commission for the Air Force?
Yes, I did.
So tell us what was your first station?
Got a regular commission as a second lieutenant. I had put in my dream sheet that I would like to be stationed any place on the East Coast. I gave them a real chance. My first assignment was Victorville, California.
The West Coast.
Just about 40 miles from San Bernardino. And we had a '66 Mustang. We loaded up, and of course, neither one of us had hardly been out of North and South Carolina. We took off across country to Victorville and stayed there until February of '69. In '68, I called my career advisor and asked if I was going to have to go to Vietnam. And he said, we have so many officers in your pay grade and your years of service. Right now, I would say you probably won't ever have to go. 2 weeks exactly, I got orders to go to Saigon.
There's a little bit of a pattern here. They give you opposite of what they...
So, well, as I told you before, now my next assignment is further away from Myrtle Beach than Victorville was.
Wow.
But so January, I went to Saigon, stayed until the next year. I missed TET by 1 year. TET was '68. I got there in Saigon in '69.
Wow. You know, Colonel, you tell me this, just the life you've lived so far. You've lived a life, buddy, a good life.
Well, I'm thankful for it. It's not that everything has been perfect, but almost.
Yeah. So coming up, did you know that you wanted to stay in the Air Force?
Well, that was I came back in January. I had an assignment to go to Omaha, Nebraska. A really nice assignment, but a guy bumped me from it, and I got his job in Rome, New York, which is about 30 miles east of Syracuse. Cold, snow. So we got there, and we liked the lifestyle, we liked the outdoors, and we just decided to stay.
Wow.
And so we did, and we stayed there for 5 years, and then went to Ramstein Air Base Germany, which is close to the French border in southeast Germany. Stayed there for 4.
You were there for 4 years, Colonel?
Yeah, for 4 years.
Did you enjoy that?
Yes, we did, and we had 2 children. Daughter was born in 70, and our son in 72, and so they were 2 and 4 years old, and so it was. They enjoyed it. It was different. They were just growing up, and I had a great job. I started out as chief of protocol for the command, and then became the executive to the 3-star general.
Oh, wow.
So that was good for my career.
Yeah.
And it was a great job. Then we came back to Tampa, stayed 2 years in Tampa, and then went to Montgomery, Alabama to the Air Force Command and Staff College. When I graduated from the college, they put me in charge of a program there where we teach them Command and Staff College at their home base, as opposed to bringing them to Montgomery. So I did that for 2 years.
So you had to travel some with that job?
I did. I had to quarterly, myself and the people that worked for me would go out and teach the new part of a new lesson.
It's like leadership stuff?
It's command and staff.
Yeah, I got you.
It's strategy, it's tactics, it's things like that.
Would your wife get to go with you on those stints?
She did not.
Did not. Okay.
I had to take my golf clubs, so I didn't have room for her.
I understand. So you got
she had 2 kids at home, so
Yeah.
she didn't have a choice. So
Sound like you got the better end of that deal.
I looked silly in Montgomery in the middle of the winter with golf clubs strung over my shoulder.
Yeah.
But so we'd do that, and then went to the Pentagon and stayed there in the Pentagon itself for 2 years. And the Air Force opened a new command.
Can I ask you a question right there? Did you enjoy your time in the Pentagon?
I did. It did.
What was your biggest takeaway from being there?
Probably is the fact that if you walk down a hall and didn't see somebody you knew, you weren't looking, they just walked past you.
Wow.
Because everybody eventually ends up there. Army, Navy, Air Force. If you have a job, you're going to get there. And it's exciting to know what part you're playing in the big picture, to be in the Pentagon. And but in '85, the Air Force opened a new command called the Air Force District of Washington, which mirrors the Army District, which is the service that's responsible for all military activities in D.C. So the Air Force opened a new command. I had found out about it from another officer who was working to do it. And I told him, I said, I like that sound. I'd like to have a chance to get the job. And so he said, well, when we're going to announce the commander, I'll let you know. I completely forgot about it. And about 2 months later, he called me and he said, we're going to announce the commander tomorrow. And I said, who is it? He told me. Well, I looked him up. He was a brigadier general, and his office was in Crystal City, just south of the Pentagon. So I called his secretary and introduced myself and said, has General Giddings selected a chief of staff yet? She said, no, he's interviewed about 5 people. He didn't like any of them. I said, well, I'm going to make life easier for you because you are talking to the greatest chief of staff in the Air Force. And she said, would that be you? I said, absolutely. She said, you have a resume? I said, of course. She said, bring it to me. So I jumped on the subway, metro, went down to Crystal City, met her, gave it to her, and in 1 hour, I had lunch with him, and he gave me the job.
Oh, that's great.
So I helped start that whole new command in '85, and then did that for 2.5 years. General Giddings retired, and another brigadier general took his place, and he made me the commander of the Air Force Base.
You were the commander of that base.
Yes, Bowling Air Force Base in D.C.
Wow.
So I did that for 2 years, and then got a...
Can we pause there? You're the commander of an Air Force base.
Yes.
That is significant responsibility, Colonel.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was, and it's something to be in something like that where you are responsible and you know it, and you can do whatever you have courage to do.
Yeah.
And the responsibility sometimes is overwhelming. On that air base, we had 15 three-star generals that lived there. The number 2 general in the Air Force lived there. I was their landlord. So a lot of pressure there, too.
Yeah.
So, but then I got a chance to go to Las Vegas.
Can I ask you a question right there? Tell me about your wife. How did she like Air Force life?
She loved it, and she was wonderful, especially in the Air Force for the senior people. When you get to be full colonel, there is a lot expected of the wife. It's not mandatory. You don't have to do it, but it's expected.
The unspoken rule.
And yes, and for the senior NCOs too. If you're a chief master sergeant in certain positions, your wife is expected to participate. And if she doesn't want to, that's fine. But that's just the way it is. And she was wonderful. She could talk to anybody. And the thing that always impressed me, she could talk to a young 20-year-old airman, and he would think he was the most important guy in the world. And then we got to meet Prince Charles and Lady Diane.
Wow.
They landed at the Air Force Base there in Maryland, and we got to be in the receiving line and meet them. So, and she was wonderful at doing things like that.
Wow, that's great. I tell you what, the spouse in military life is very important, isn't it, Colonel?
It is, and in Montgomery at the Command and Staff College, she played a real important role because we had an officer that wasn't married. She volunteered to do whatever things his wife would have done had she been there. And she did that for 9 months.
Wow.
Because otherwise it would have been difficult for him.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So you were getting ready to tell me about Las Vegas.
Well, then I got this golden opportunity to go to an operational base at Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base. And I was supposed to be there in March of '90. That's the start of Desert Storm. My boss in D.C. would not let me leave D.C. until my replacement arrived. He didn't arrive until July. When I get there, I find out, had I been there on time in March, I would have been in Saudi Arabia as the base commander for the stealth airplanes.
Wow.
But I missed out because I didn't, and they sent my deputy instead. So we stayed there 2 years and decided 26 years was enough. We retired and hot-footed it back to the beach.
So did you enjoy Las Vegas as well?
We sure did. We're not gamblers. We would, never did we go downtown just to gamble. But if we were at a function or something, we might take a $20 bill and break it down into quarters for the slots. And the nice thing about it, we met some awfully nice people in the hierarchy of Vegas. So that, that was, and the same thing in D.C. too. Just because of the position I was in, we got to meet unbelievable people up there. And but Vegas was real interesting, and being the commander of a base with airplanes is a lot different than D.C.
Wow, wow, wow. You so you knew after that you were ready to retire, Colonel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any question where you were going to retire too?
No, absolutely not. My mother was here up until '81, and we got to visit her a couple of times, but we were so far away. It was.
But your heart was always in Myrtle Beach.
Absolutely. Like I said, there was no greater place in the world to grow up back then.
Yeah. Had Myrtle Beach changed when you come back? Tell me about your thoughts of that.
I was disappointed with downtown.
Yeah.
Because, as I told you earlier, downtown was active, it was vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
Your friends were there. You knew where you were and who you were.
Mm-hmm.
And I came back and we drive up Main Street and the Myrtle Beach Farms stores are closed.
Mm-hmm.
The windows are covered with brown paper.
Mm-hmm.
And it was disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And the mall that came along, I wasn't here, didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
It just was disappointing to see that. I understand what caused it to happen. A lot of those stores were then duplicated at the mall, probably. But hopefully the things that are going on with the city now, things can get better. The city does have a nice plan in place to improve that. And I have nothing to do with what they do, but hopefully they'll think that having a vibrant downtown is important. And obviously the Burrs and Chapin's property across the street is going to be vital for that redevelopment. And hopefully someday they'll find something that is suitable for what they want to do. And they care about down too. Edgerton Burrs cares as much for downtown and that property as anybody.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. He sat in that same spot that you did, and I can hear y'all echoing the same things, but the vibrant family portion of Myrtle Beach is both what y'all love and desire, you know. And it takes lots of different partners to make that happen, doesn't it, Colonel?
It does. And I think the city, under the previous administration, did come to some agreement about how they can improve that property down there. And so I hope it works out like that, because when you have a place like that, I think you will see more people come back, especially if it's the right kind of development across the street. And thinking about Edgerton, it's real interesting. He and I did some of the same jobs working in the pavilion. He was just a couple years behind me.
Yeah.
But we did the same, worked in the bathhouse, lifeguard on the beach. I didn't ever work behind a soda fountain, but he says he did.
Yeah.
So, and he cares about it. He loves the beach.
So you're back in Myrtle Beach, retired from the Air Force. What was next for you? What were you doing?
Well, the first thing I started to do was thinking, I need to find a place to live and work. And the first job I had was a HR director for the Sands Oceanfront Hotels. But while in that position, I used to look at, back then, the want ads. I looked at the want ads every day, and I saw an advertisement for an executive director of the Air Force Base Redevelopment Authority. I knew the base had closed or was closing, which it closed in March of '93. And I went home and told Penny, I said, now that sounds like something I'd like to get involved in. But I said, I bet it doesn't pay anything. So I didn't do anything. And about a week later, it was back. And this time it had a salary range, which was a little better than what I was making, but not a great deal. So I called a friend, Mr. Clay Britton, of the Britton family, who I had lifeguarded for in front of the Chesterfield Hotel in '59. And I said, Mr. Britton, what is the Redevelopment Authority? He said, I've never heard of it. He said, but give me a few minutes, I'll find out. So he called me back and he said, they want to see your resume. You do have a resume. I said, well, of course. So he said, fax it to him. So I faxed it out to the Air Force Base. Well, the next morning at 10 o'clock, he calls and he said, did you fax it to him? I said, well, of course I did. He said, oh, you were supposed to send it to Canal Industries in Conway, where the chairman's office is. Bring it to me and I'll take it to him. I said, Mr. Britton, I can't have you driving all the way to Conway just to hand deliver my resume. He said, you hear me? I said, yes, sir.
It's good to have friends.
I went and gave it to him. He took off. About 2 hours later, Mr. Stowe's office called and said, can you have lunch with Mr. Stowe? And so that was August of 95.
95.
Started on August 16th.
Can I ask you something right here? So you retired back to Myrtle Beach in what year? Remind me one more time.
92.
92. What year did the Air Force Base close?
March 93.
93. Okay, I got you. So it was closing when you were here.
Yeah, it was closed.
Tell us, you grew up in Myrtle Beach. You know, it was being built while you were here. Tell us the significance of that in this area, the feeling of the Air Force Base closing.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it was a matter of pride that we have an Air Force Base. And I would submit to you too that having AVX here was kind of the same thing. It's a large company. People spend their life working for the same. The Air Force was that important, participating in Vietnam, participating in the Pueblo situation, and all of those kind of things. We watched what they were doing. We watched when the airplanes left. We knew when people and friends of ours, fathers, were going to put their life in jeopardy for us. And it was a matter of pride to be able to claim it's our air base.
Yeah.
And we felt that it wasn't just a bunch of people. And when you think about it, from 54 to 93, how many Air Force families lived here during it, and children.
And certainly I don't have the history with the base that you do, Colonel, but I remember being in 6th grade. My 6th grade teacher, husband, was an airman here, you know. I mean, we all had ties to it, you know, and even to our economy. My grandmother was civil service, worked at the Commons area. It was important to our economy too, wasn't it?
It was real important. One of the interesting things was after it closed, one of the first complaint I got was from a bar owner claiming that when the Air Force left, he lost all of his wait staff and his bartenders from the young airmen and their spouses that worked for him, and in the hotels and restaurants. So that made a difference. But it was the largest employer in the county when it was active, approximately 2,800 military people. And so, and they were close inside the fence line, but the ones that lived off base went to church with us just like people that live there. So it was no different doing it that way.
And Colonel, and I think it's important, I appreciate you sharing. It was a pride thing, such a pride thing for our area, so important to our economy. Now you are the director, the man tasked with figuring out what's going to happen with this land. You had a monumental task ahead of you. Tell me your thoughts going into that.
Well, obviously, I knew nothing about redevelopment. I had commanded 2 air bases, and I thought I knew a lot about controlling money and people and projects and doing that kind of stuff. So I was comfortable doing it, but I really had no vision about where we were going. The first thing I felt was important was I had to demilitarize the base, because I just intuitively felt nobody would want to buy it when they were probably 35 functionally obsolete buildings. Nobody was going to buy it and have to assume the responsibility of tearing down those buildings. We had to, the first thing I did is I had removed the security police guard post at the front gate and the back gate, where there are people here today that don't know what the back gate is or the front gate.
But lots of locals still refer to it.
Oh, yeah,
Front gate
they
entrance,
do.
back gate entrance.
They sure do.
I do the same
They
thing.
don't say bypass or nothing.
Yeah.
But so, that was kind of where we started. Then we had to think about the possibility of putting public infrastructure in the ground once we got rid of those buildings, so that if a developer came in, we could say, listen, here's roads, water, sewer, underground utilities, things like that. All you have to do is build your buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while. We did not meet the guy who finally did that until 2005.
Yep. Can I pause there? So help our listeners understand, did the federal government give some funds to help redevelop it, or was it a state thing or a local thing, or was everybody involved?
No, the Air Force gave us a grant for 4 years that is for you can't do anything with it, but planning and hiring employees and consultants. That's all you could spend it for. And that ran out in 97.
Okay.
And so everything we did was paid for with money that we created by buying property from the Air Force and selling it.
Okay.
Now, that when I say all of it, it's almost all of it. We had such interesting things happen. I got a call one day from a reporter at the Post and Courier wanting to know what I was doing with the liquor and wine permit fees. I said, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. He said, don't you know that you're supposed to receive all of the permits for Sunday liquor sales in Horry County for 5 years? I didn't know. So I got with my friendly legislators, and sure enough, that was true. So we collected $1.5 million for 5 years. Every bit of that was spent on public infrastructure, tearing down buildings, building roads, water, sewer, Farrah Parkway. The next thing was we bought the family housing, 800 units, in September of 97.
How many years is that into it now, Colonel? Roughly 3, 4 years?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Had to wait 4 years.
Yeah.
I had to get deed to it first.
Yeah.
And to do that, I had to buy it from the Air Force. So I negotiated a deal with them. I didn't pay anything, but I found a developer that was willing to pay we had to pay 10% down of $5.9 million. He paid it, had have some repairs for the homes. He paid it. Then he leased all 800 homes back after I bought them, and he paid that too for 4 years. When I put them on the market for sealed bids, he bought them.
Wow.
The money that he paid for them then went right into that pot for the $1.5 million 5 times a year.
Can I brag on you at this point? I don't know a man that was better suited for this job than you, just for your leadership, but the fact that you are redeveloping an Air Force base and you have been a base commander, and all of your knowledge of the inner workings of the government and the Air Force, you were the perfect man.
Well, and my knowledge of the Air Force, being in the Pentagon and doing things like that, I think everybody that interviews me wants to know if being a full colonel made any difference. And I say I don't know, probably a little bit. But then the next thing that happened was we bought the property, the full length of the runway from Kings Highway to Emory Road for $8.9 million. I paid nothing down, interest only for the first year. And at the end of the first year, I get invited to D.C. to visit the Air Force, and they tell me if I can justify that I can't pay that 8.9 million, I can be forgiven the entire 8.9. So needless to say, flying home on Piedmont that afternoon, I wrote my justification, sent it off the next day, and we got that property free. And then we sold some of it to extend the airport, some of it for other things like that.
Colonel, I'd say that was a good day's work.
It was to get 8.9 million.
Yeah. But, and we're right in the middle of your efforts to redevelop the Air Force Base, but what you're doing was so important to our area, right? I mean, you spoke about it earlier, the pride of the Grand Strand, the Myrtle Beach Air Force Base is closed. Everybody wanted to see something very good happen with this property.
Well, they did, and the Air Force did a community development study sometime around 1990, before I got here. And that study, meeting with the citizens, determined that they wanted an airport, a golf course, parks and recreation, and the fourth one escapes me. But they're urban village was the fourth one. And they got exactly what they wanted. Urban village, golf course, Whispering Pines, airport. And so at least we had something we can aim at. And by the time I got in the job, the city adopted that development plan. So I had two choices: try to find money to challenge them and put our own development plan, or accept the city's. So I convinced the Redevelopment Authority to accept the city based on the fact that I felt if I would develop their plan, they would have to work with me. They wouldn't fight me. I'm doing your plan. And I always laugh and say, and mostly they did. I mean, it's, when you look, it's been 30 years. And yes, we had our differences, but in the end, I think the community got what they wanted. The city was real good in helping the Redevelopment Authority complete its mission.
Yeah. But Colonel, I try to put myself in your shoes. I bet there was lots of opinions and lots of people that wanted it this way or think it should be this, but you're the man tasked with it. How did you combat those conversations and thoughts and probably great power struggles, I would say?
Well, my other answer is I was always caught in between city, county, Air Force, EPA, state. I was in the middle. But the only way you can get past that is you have to stand your ground. You have to push and find the midpoint that satisfies all of them. And over the time, I was able to do that with the help, obviously, of a lot of people. City people, Air Force. I got to know a bunch of Air Force people real well. EPA was always a challenge, but for the good. And once, it's really interesting, once I met Dan McCaffrey from Chicago, who built the Market Common. There's no S on Common too, by the way.
Okay.
It's Common. I hear people say Commons. I go, excuse me, it's Common.
Common.
But once I met him, it was easy to get started. He had already built one in Arlington, Virginia, very similar to ours. I went to visit it and realized it could work. And I came back and started construction, and I was the senior project manager for that. And so, things just started falling in place. And luckily, by the time, if you'll remember, 2008, there was a real downfall in the economy. And luckily, we were locked in to doing it. We were already, the roads, water, sewer, regional stormwater system that I put in was already in the ground and paid for. And it was paid for by money that we generated by buying the property from the Air Force and selling it.
Wow. And so you correct me at any point, so your plan was once you were hired, number one, you demoralized, you got rid of some of the military functions of the base, tore down some buildings, and then infrastructure was your plan. Get road, water, and sewer in there to make it appealing for buyers.
Well, you're exactly right. It was really funny. My first plan was, and I didn't know what I was doing.
I think you do know what you were doing. You had a good plan.
I figured somebody would buy that whole piece.
Yeah.
And a year later, I even gave it exclusive listing to a realtor. And in 1 year, I didn't ever hear from him. So I got to thinking, maybe if I put it in small parcels, 3 acre, 5 acre, did that for a year, didn't get anything. And I never talked to any local realtors. So I thought, well, I think I'll try. So I talked to 3 realtors, and one of them wanted to make a proposal for an exclusive listing, Caldwell Banker, guy named Gary Roberts, and my authority chose him. And in less than 2 months, he had a friend in Wilmington who had a friend in D.C. Whose office was right across the hall from Dan McCaffrey's finance partner.
Wow.
And in 2 months, sitting like this, talking to him.
Wow. And he bought a good portion of the
110 acres.
Wow. That's impressive.
And see, there's more money where we got money that we spent on ball fields. And we did all kind of things to help Horry Georgetown Tech, because for them to receive the former elementary school for a college campus, we contributed significantly to help them get started. We contributed to the Spear Building, the Culinary Arts Building, the Nursing Institute. And so we've been a significant partner with Dr. Ford and the college. And truthfully, my authority thinks that's probably the most important thing that we've done. And I'll give you a perfect example. When the nursing opportunity, they had 30 students back then. They had 300 on the list. They would not live long enough to get in class. So Dr. Ford's predecessor wanted to consolidate all of the nursing programs in the former base hospital. And we played a significant role in that, which has now led to the Nursing Institute.
Yeah. So Colonel, make sure I'm correct. So so our listeners understand, so when your organization sold property, you would just reinvest it back into community things. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's good.
We made it possible for private businesses, because if you look at the law that we're under, in the first paragraph it says we are to enhance the local tax base and to create jobs to replace those lost when the base closed.
Yeah.
And so, that's what we were doing. And if I tried to sell it the way it looked in April of '93, nobody would buy it.
Yeah.
There were 40 some buildings that were just, the good buildings were always in the wrong place. And the obsolete ones were Site A. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to brag on you again. Today, me and you are sitting in a building on the former Myrtle Beach Air Force Base, but we are in Market Common today. It was wildly successful what you did. I mean, this is I'll say one of the brightest, if not the brightest spot in Myrtle Beach today. This is where everybody wants to come. Do you want to speak to that?
It really is. And of course, I love to talk to people. I just met a man at my Rotary meeting from Delaware, and he asked me what I was doing. I told him. He said, "Man, I love that place. My wife and I stay here during the winter, and that's where we go all the time." So I hear that a lot, and obviously it is a matter of pride that we created that. A lot of closed military installations, and we were on the second list in '89, I think. A lot of installations from all services really had a hard time because they were in places where nobody wanted to be. In the peninsula in Michigan or K.I. Sawyer in Dakota, they had a lot of hard times to get started. And one of the first questions I was asked the first time I talked, somebody wanted to know, how are we going to get along without the airbase? I said, we're not going to miss it. We got that Atlantic Ocean out here.
Amen.
People are going to be coming. They're not going to stop coming. And so it just matters what we make of it. And with the help of the city and different people like that, we were lucky that we were able to accept their plan and make it fit with the way my members thought it should be.
But when you told your 4 things that you wanted it to be, where we're sitting today, and as we drive out today, you met your goals, Colonel.
Very much.
This is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
One thing that you talked about, and I guess you're a man of leadership in everything that you've done in life, but it does take a lot of partners to make things work. Is that correct?
Well, it really is, and I don't take credit for this because I had a director of development. I only had 4 employees. I had a director of development, a director of finance and administration, and an operations director. They did most of the work. I was just a point guy trying to keep things going and moving, and to be able to, in that position, talk to people knowing I had the authority for what I wanted to do. And my board members, all 9 of them, have always been accepting of the kind of things I brought to them.
Yeah.
Which made the job a lot easier.
Yeah. And tell us, so you still are the director today?
I still am, and I think possibly a good chance maybe for 2 more years. I'm only 84.
Young man.
I feel good. I'm almost healthy, but I don't see any need to quit because I feel like I am still making a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm at a position where I can call Judy, the director of the airport, and say, hey, here's an opportunity. Are you interested? Or I can call Dr. Four and say, what can I help you? What are you doing that you need redevelopment authorities help? So, and I built that relationship, I think, with all of them.
Absolutely.
So,
And in the Market Common, great infrastructure that you did. We got an urban village, great shopping, great recreational through the city of Myrtle Beach. Or Georgetown Tech is here. This area serves for a lot of things for our community, doesn't it?
the use is unbelievable. I get a report. We contributed significantly to the ball field complex. The city sends me a report every Friday of what's going to happen in the roads center, in the ballparks. It is astonishing. They'll have 25 baseball teams playing in a tournament, or they'll have 50 volleyball teams downtown. And so what? So what? You've got, when one kid comes to play baseball, you got mom and dad, brother, maybe grandma, granddaddy, and they don't come the day of. They come 2 days before, stay 2 days after. So the enhancement to sports tourism is just unbelievable.
Yeah. Colonel, I guess my 2 thoughts on that is that what you knew to be true was that big, beautiful ocean that the Lord put out there in just the heart of our community, that we would rebound from losing the Myrtle Beach Air Force Base. And we lost a great pride, but we've got something we can be very proud of right here in the heart of Myrtle Beach today, can't we?
That's right. It's not going away.
It's not going away. Yep. So what else are you into these days as we wrapping up here?
That's what I do all the time. I play golf once a week. As you're talking about your grandmother, I had a cousin's wife that worked in the morale and welfare office. One of the funny things is people try to remember where the office they worked in was, and they can't find it.
Yeah.
And there were 10 dormitories side by side. Those dormitories sat right in the middle of the big lake. That's where they were.
On that subject, we're sitting in a building that used to be a simulator for the Myrtle Beach Air Force Base, and it's a TV station.
Yeah.
Hey, well, as we wrap up, I want to brag on you one more time. Thank you for serving our country for so many years, and thank you for giving back to our area on the Grand Strand in the redevelopment capacity that you did for our area. You turned it, Market Common into something beautiful, so thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us
Appreciate
today.
you saying.
Yes. Friends, history is important, and history of the Grand Strand is important. I encourage you to learn more about our history. We can't forget our history. And I'd like to thank our guest today for his contribution to our country and to our area. Go live a full life. God gives us the opportunity every day to go make a difference. Join us next time, friends.